And so we spent the next 6 months and we applied to 42 different banks. And dude, every single one of them denied loan. So I have in my notes that today we're talking about high climb and how I started a climbing gym.
Yeah, that's right.
So I wore my high climb shirt.
Okay. So let's get into that. How you started high climb. I mean, it's honestly one of my favorite like entrepreneurial stories.
Thanks.
It is. I mean, it's so relatable to like what we do and like aspirations of people that want to get into business for themselves and make their own living and eventually build something that's pretty fucking cool. And I think you've done that.
Thanks, dude. Thank you.
In my opinion, I know not everything that glitters is gold, but it looks like you got a pretty sweet thing going on. You know, so let me ask, like, if we're going to talk about high climb, let's talk about like where it started. So for you, like, why rock climbing gym? Why did you settle into that as like, yeah, I'm going to open up a gym and I'm going to run that. So where did it all start for you?
Well, before I start with the beginning, let me start with the end and tell you that last year we did about 4 million revenue. So it was worth it, dude. It was worth it. But it didn't start short. Yeah, long story short, we're making $4 million. No. But that's not all profit. It'll probably make about $500,000 actual profit to me, which is cool.
Yeah.
So I was huge into rock climbing between 2018 to 2019. I would go to the gym, which was about an hour drive every single day, and I would climb until my arms were about to fall off. I basically got tendonitis and whatever the other side is as well, and I had shoulder problems because I was climbing every single day and just not giving myself time to recover. And I spent so much time at this climbing gym and driving in traffic that I thought, you know what would be better than driving for an hour? Would be if this place was in my backyard. And up until then, there had not existed a full climbing gym in the state of Hawaii. And full means they have bouldering, which is the 16-foot high walls where you're not in a harness or rope. Then you have top rope, which is you have your buddy belay you. And then you have things like yoga and fitness. There wasn't anything that had everything. There's a couple little like garage shops, I call them, but nothing legit. And I climbed on the mainland, and dude, some of these places have these 80-foot walls. You walk in, and it's like a mausoleum of rock climbing. It's amazing. I was like, dude, I need more opportunity for my arms to fall off. That's what I need. And it was summer of 2018. Sorry, 2019. And I'm at Arch Project, which is this little hole in the wall rock climbing gym. Nice, nothing crazy. And I was chatting with one of the guys, and he's like, man, somebody should open up one of these in town. It's like, yeah, we're closer to where I live because all the gyms are typically out in the middle of nowhere. It's like, yeah, they should do that. And at the time, I was sitting on some good cash, probably about $250,000. And I was like, I could open up a gym. And before this, I was thinking about opening up a burrito restaurant just because I love burritos and I want to eat them every day. And I wasn't seeing any like locations or names or anything I was going to stood out to me. In fact, I was going to name my restaurant Boobies Burritos. And our logo was going to be the blue-footed booby, which is a bird, a Hawaiian bird. And so it was going to be boobies, but then its eyes were going to be like this little, the whole thing. I digress. And so I was like, I could probably open up one of these. I feel like it might cost me, I've got $250K. It might cost me about $300K. I could just open this thing up, put a manager in place, step aside, not do anything. $300,000, done. And the summer I decided to do this, it was June 2019. I'm like, I know nothing about operating a gym. I feel like there's got to be some type of information out there, maybe like an association, like there's the NAR Association, National Association of Realtors. There's got to be something where I can get information on how to open this gym. And I go to Google and I'm just like, Association for Rock Climbing. and I come across this thing called CWA, the Climbing Wall Association for Rock Climbing Gym Owners. And I was like, oh, perfect. That's what I need. I feel like they'll be able to put me in touch with the right people. And I go on their website, and they're having an expo in Colorado in 7 days. On June 7th, it was June 1st. And the tickets were like $3,000 because it was last minute, and I live in Hawaii. I was like, man, if I'm actually going to do this, I probably need to learn a little bit about the business. And so 7 days later, I'm in Colorado at this expo for 3 days, meeting every gym owner across the country. And a couple of them were nice enough, and I basically bought them breakfast. And I sat down with them for anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, and I just grilled them on every single thing I could possibly think of. How much did it cost? How long does it take? What should I do? What about this? What about route setters? Like, what about staffing, general management? How do you hire this? How do you operate it? Like, what's your margins? The whole thing. And dude, I learned so much in that 3 days I knew more about rock climbing than just about, unless you were a gym owner, nobody knew more than me. And I came back with basically a business plan, an outline, banks that were willing to loan to me, and a bunch of people that were interested potentially in partnerships, like the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the hard part came, which was finding the location, because you have to have like 3 things. You have to have an open floor plan in the middle of the city with 40 or 50 foot high ceilings. So basically what you need a warehouse in the middle of the city in the best prime real estate of all time. And it has to be commercial.
Right.
And that's like good luck, dude. Like, if it's that good, it's going to be expensive. And so for about a year, I was searching. I would send out letters to owners of buildings that fit my criteria. I'd just pull the list and I'd mail them. I would go knock on people's doors, businesses, and be like, hey, like, how long do you plan on being in this building? Can I rent it out from you? They're like, what? No, leave. And eventually, dude, after a year, I was starting to get a little discouraged because I found nothing that was even close to decent. And then someone sent me a link on LoopNet to this property that had been pending for like 6 months, so it didn't come up. And there was this old dusty-ass machine shop that, bro, it was bad. Like, you walk in and the floor is just coated in oil and grease. And there's no lighting. There's no circulation. It's bad. The front of the building has graffiti. It's terrible. But I went in and I was like, wow, this is pretty good. So I get a hold of the broker and I'm like, John, I'm interested. I'd like to make an offer. He's like, nah, we're already about to accept an offer. We've been negotiating with this other prospective tenant for 6 months. I was like, well, did you sign anything yet? He's like, well, no, nothing's signed, but we've been going back and forth for 6 months. We're not going to kill the deal now just because somebody's kind of interested. And I said, John, I'm not kind of interested. I will do whatever it takes to release this space. And he goes, sorry, Devin, I'll let you know if this falls out. I was like, that answer didn't really work with me. So I got off the phone and I thought about it. And I called him back. And I was like, John, I'm going to send you an email. And I'd like to invite the owner to coffee, the owner of the building. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, I'd like to invite her to coffee and just tell her what we're trying to do. And her space is pretty much the only thing that could work for this. I'm going to send you the email. Please forward it. And he's like, I'll tell you what, she's not going to be interested, but go ahead and send the email. And I go, by the way, what's the other company that's trying to rent this space? And he goes, it's a commercial kitchen. So they install grease traps in a bunch of kitchens and rent it out to restaurant vendors. It's like, okay, thank you. And I send the nicest email I've ever written in my entire life. And I'm like, and I convinced the owner of how amazing of a tenant and how we're going to basically turn her dusty old warehouse into the epicenter of the city. And it's going to just be this magnet for great people. And then next day I get a call from John and he's like, Devin, all right, the owner agreed to meet with you, but I'll tell you what, we're inking the deal. We've wasted so much time if we just switch to you. Just a meeting. That's all we got to do. Mm-hmm. And I show up to that meeting, and the owner's name was CC. And bro, I printed out photos on nice cardstock laminated paper of the nicest climbing gyms in the world. Like, I printed out photos of like these all glass buildings with stainless steel and these gorgeous architectural frames. I like showed them how clean it was. And I had this one picture where there's 100 people just all smiling inside of a climbing gym. And I printed it out. And then I printed out photos of the dirtiest, nastiest kitchens you can possibly find, because that's what they were going to rent to, is this commercial shop. And I sit down with her and she's like, all right, give me your pitch. And I go on to tell her that climbing, it's a third location. Like, think of all of these underprivileged youth that live here in Hawaii. We are going to give them a spot at no cost. We're going to give them after school programs so they're not out making trouble. They can actually get stronger, learn about nutrition, health, meet great friends, build a community. And I lay it on thick because I know she's got 2 kids. And then I tell her that this is an up and coming neighborhood with kids and restaurants and food, the whole thing. Do you really want to be the person that puts in like a greasy commercial kitchen? Now, I didn't say it just like that. And dude, by the end of it, she's like, these photos are pretty nice. Like, of this climbing gym. I was like, this is exactly what we're going to make your warehouse look like. And I had already had a fair amount of success in real estate up until this point. And so I was able to show that I had about $250,000 in my bank. I'm getting a bank loan. I'm going to make her building way better. And dude, I closed that deal so hard because I got a call the next day. John's like, all right, Devin, if you're ready to write a check and you're not going to spend 6 months negotiating, we'll work with you. And I was like, yes, let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
And that's how it started.
Right.
And on February 20th, 2020, I signed a check for the security deposit for $127,000. And which was, I guess at the time, maybe not, I didn't have 250. I had I want to say I had like 10 grand left over after I wrote that check. So I had less money than I thought. And then, dude, 7 days later, the state of Hawaii goes on lockdown for COVID. I just inked a 10-year lease that I'm on the hook for no matter what. I've got to pay 30 grand a month every month. And my bank calls me. Well, they didn't even call me. I called them. And they were definitely not offering me a loan for this climbing gym.
Ooh. Dude, that's got to hurt.
Bro. Oh, it was so bad.
Talk about overshooting your shot. And then
overshot
the
hard.
World just caves in on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that wasn't the end. Like,
that was not the end.
No.
The state goes on lockdown. We have no money. Fortunately, we had this kind of delay period of 6 months before rent starts. An abatement is what it's called. And we spend, and I bring on a partner during this time who reaches out because I was starting to get pretty busy selling real estate. And I was like, dude, you are the sweat equity. I am the check equity. I'll give you a good chunk, a 25% stake, but you got to do a lot of this legwork with loans and all this stuff. And so we spent the next 6 months and we applied to 42 different banks. And dude, every single one of them denied. Like, denied loan. We were denied 41 loans for this endeavor. And then, dude, we applied to this company in Florida because they were still open. Florida doesn't care. Mm-hmm. And dude, we apply and they're just like, oh yeah, we're in. Let's do it. And we get a loan for them for, I don't even remember, like $1.5 million basically. The total project cost was probably about 2.5, which was 2.2 million more than I expected it to be.
Casually.
Yeah, right. And dude, we got approved for a loan after an insane amount of applications. And then we just started doing the work. And it took probably a good another year from even getting the loan done to like being able to open. But what the scary part was, for those 6 months, we were still incurring expenses. So we were having to have our walls built in Utah, which is where they do it. We're having to pay for these massive container shippings across the ocean, 20 grand a pop to get stuff out here. We were paying for sprinkler systems. And so I was working my face off selling real estate, making a lot of money, but I was floating this company, and I had to make like 30 grand a month, 30, 40 grand a month just to pay for the bills and these contractors to keep this project afloat. And it really sucked, actually. It wasn't that enjoyable.
No. I mean, stroking checks for a business that isn't turning any revenue because you got to get it built. I mean, that's got to be tough.
Yeah.
And so you're floating this whole thing. What's your buddy doing, the sweat equity partner in this? What is he doing at this point in time? Is he involved yet?
So, yeah, he is. He got called to Korea, which was super discouraging for 6 months because he's military and they could just take him wherever they want. But he was basically just doing all the back end admin, coordinating contractors, getting jobs lined up, getting quotes for different parts of it. I mean, we basically, everything other than the walls of this facility had to be changed. So the roof was bad. The floor wasn't going to work for us. The concrete wasn't thick enough, so we had to replace it. We had to demo everything inside. We had to install sprinklers, lightings, fans, electrical, plumbing, like the whole thing. We basically built this warehouse from scratch, and we were just given this empty shell. And so he was the one that was in charge of, and he has more of a construction background than I do, of running this ship and keeping it afloat. And so in 2021, January, the climbing wall arrived. And so in January, they just started building it. And then they started doing sprinkler systems in March. And then basically on June 30th, they were done with the wall. So everything in the gym was built of 2021, but they needed the what's called diamond plating around the pads. So you have all these pads around the wall, but if they're just loose, they'll just kind of like come up and fall. So you have to anchor them down. And so they FedExed or USPS'd all of those pieces over. And so we were waiting on it. And at 3 p.m. on July 1st, all of those things arrived. We spent an hour basically setting it up. And then 10 minutes later, we sent out an Instagram post basically saying we're open for business. And bro, we probably had in the first month, we made about $200,000 month one. Like we were profitable month one. And I didn't realize that at the time, but coming out of the pandemic, right at the time, things were starting to open up. Everybody was just itching to get out of their house. And so, bro, we had like just lines of people coming in to sign up because there was just nothing to do and most places hadn't opened yet. So we just got this massive tailwind and everybody wanted to check us out. We were in every magazine. We were on every station. Like everybody was talking about us for a good 6 months. And then like other stuff opened and it wasn't as big of a deal. But opening when we did was seriously the biggest blessing because had we opened normally, we never would have gotten that kind of hype.
Mm-hmm.
And then ever since then,
incredible.
Dude, a lot of luck, a lot of right time, right place. That's for sure.
Well, it seems like in hindsight, like you're looking back, you timed everything perfectly. Like,
dude, it really feels like it. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a gut check when COVID hits and your banks fall out and you got to hustle and bang on some doors and get somebody to give you some money. Thank God for Florida just being the wild child of the United States.
Dude,
saying, like,
thank God for Florida. Thank God for Florida.
Uh-huh. Man, that's incredible. And the fact that you guys were able to launch right whenever they started lifting restrictions and catching, like you said, the tailwind of that.
Dude.
That's massive. So, okay, now you've been operational for what, 3 years now? For the most part? Coming up on
3 years. We're coming up on 3 years.
But you've been in this for 5 years.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And that's the part that people don't see about these businesses that open up. You know? that 24 months leading up to it. And then even before then, I mean, like a year prior to that, you were envisioning, what are you going to do with this? Where are you going to get the money? All of those different things. And you start putting it into motion. And I just like the fact that, taking it back to more the beginning, I mean, what led to the idea of you opening the rock climbing gym was a lot of your success in real estate, but also getting burnt out of the grind of selling houses.
Yeah.
I would say that probably
dude.
played a big role in it, because I felt that too in real estate. I mean, it's a high income earning job, but it's still a job, right?
Yeah.
So have you always wanted to open a brick and mortar business? Because you talked about the burrito shop. Is that still on the radar? Like, you know, or you got other things you're planning on doing?
Yeah, dude. Thanks for asking. Burrito shop's off the radar. But if anybody wants to open up a burrito shop in Hawaii and needs an investor, I will invest at the low cost, no interest, just free burritos for life, at least 2 a day. I'll invest for free. So I do want that. I like free stuff for sure. But have I always wanted to open up a brick and mortar? Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we all think about, just running our own company and having our ship built. But yeah, it's, dude, like I did not expect it to work as well as it did.
Yeah. What do you think attributed to the success of it?
The people, 100% the people, dude. We got so lucky. So my partner, Steven, who is awesome, also just like in a good way, kind of a pain in the ass. Like he's just a stickler for detail and he knows how things need to be done and he's good at it. And so him and then our general manager, Anthony, who we brought in early on. Dude, those two people, I mean, I've put in most of the money. I mean, I pretty much put in all the money, but they put in like really the effort and the time. And so all I did was I brought the money, I brought the vision, and the guys worked out the details. And so those two people, now there was a lot of stuff I was, of course, really involved with, still am, but having the right people in place that are leading this ship, it would be impossible to do it without either of them. Like it would have never happened.
Dude, the right people make or break you. I truly think that's the key to business. Right people on the bus. I love the name too. High Climb. Like,
it's great.
It's so perfect.
It's just
so perfect.
It's so perfect, dude. And our logo, I'll show it to you real quick. So this is our logo. This little H with the I. But I showed it to somebody and he goes, "Balls to the wall. I like it." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's the one. That is the one."
Balls to the wall.
Balls to the wall, dude. I feel like that's
awesome.
That's a great phrase to end this podcast on. That's how I feel.
I agree with that.
Dude, thanks for listening. Thanks for asking about it.
Yeah. Dude, no, it's a cool story, man. I love it.